tutorial number 13 while we are building our mail ordering API in Laravel. And in this tutorial, we are going to implement two tests and two methods inside our mail controller. The first test is going to be a test in such a way that the administrator can be able to get all the mails. Not even only the administrator, but even a mere user can get all the mails from the database table. And the second test will be a test to ensure that a user can get a single mail out of the existing mails inside our database table. So after building the test, we are going to go ahead and implement the index and the show methods inside our mail controller. So this is our mail controller. So far we have only used the store method because remember we implemented an API resource route. So I have already prepared the document we are following, and I'm going to make this document available in the description such that it can be easier for you to follow along the tutorial. So step number 1, we are going to create a new test, and we are going to call this test admin can get all mails. So let us go ahead and create this test inside our mail test controller. So inside our mail test controller, here let us put this test, and as you are seeing, Git is already tracking whatever change we are making into our system. So this is a test which is going to be calling the get endpoint in such a way that we are going to be retrieving all the mails from the database table or from the mails table. Now let me go ahead and load our database in phpMyAdmin. So this is our database, and in the earlier tutorials we tried to insert in some data using what we called the factory or the faker. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and delete all these records inside the database such that we can insert in some new records we are going to be working with. So let us first go to Postman and create some new mails. So I have already logged into Postman as an administrator, and as you are seeing, this is the post endpoint whereby we are going to be creating a new mail which is lunch, and we are going to be giving it details and price. But before we can do that, we must make sure that our server is running. So you run php artisan serve. So our server has been started. So let me go ahead and insert in a new mail. As you are seeing, I am not authenticated. So let me go ahead and log in as an administrator such that I get a token. So let me put this token and try to submit a new mail again. This time we have been successful, and as you are seeing, a new mail has been inserted inside our table. And let us check whether the mail photo was also uploaded. So let us check the mail photo. Inside the public path, you are seeing that a new mail is created. Let me create about 4 mails or 3 mails. So let me browse a new photo. I got some photos on mail. Let me take this one and I will say this is breakfast. Breakfast, and I will give it a description. This is the first meal of the day. Let me assume it is 3,000, the price, and I submit. And as you are seeing, a new meal, which is breakfast, has been added and coming into our public folder. In the meals table, in the meals folder, you are seeing a new avatar for the meal. So let us only add one meal and we work with those ones. Let us take this one. Let me say this is supper. And I will say this is the last meal of the day. Then let us assume it is for 500. Let us check again. Yeah, as you are seeing, now we are having 3 meals and 3 photos. So our code is able to save a new meal and to upload the meal photo inside our public path. But as we said, later on we shall be changing the path of the photos and we shall be storing them on Amazon S3 bucket for our deployment. So after that, we have created our test. We have created a new test whereby the administrator will be able, or any other user, to get all the existing mails. As you are seeing, I am running this without exception handling such that I can get all the errors and analyze. And I am not applying the middleware because I just want to test whether the test passes. Then I go to implement the code inside my controller. So let me go ahead and run the test and see. And for us to run the test, this is the method we have created, this one. So we just need to run this. We call the path. The path is vendor bin php unit tests future http controllers. And we are filtering. We are running only a single test. This admin can get all mails. So let us go ahead and run the test here and see. And as you are seeing, the test is not passing. For one reason, it is saying the index method does not exist inside our mail controller. So we must go inside the mail controller and add the index method. So let me just go below the store method and I say public function. Or let me just implement it because I had already tested it. This is the index method. So public function index, and we are getting a variable, we are creating a new variable mails, and we are calling the mail model, and we are using the facade all to get all the mails inside the table. After getting all the mails, we are returning a JSON response which is meals, and we are converting whatever we get from our meals table to an array. And we are testing if not meals, then we must return no meal found. So that is it. And now let us go ahead and run the test again to see whether if we implement the index method, the test passes. The test does not pass. Let us see why. Now it is saying inside the test file, general error 1, no such table meals. But for us, we are seeing that we are having a table called meals, and we have been able to insert new meals inside our database. And the table we are inserting in is the meals table. So usually this error may arise when you update your PHP version. And for you to get rid of the error, you just need to migrate the database along with your test. So you should run a test while you are migrating your database. And for that, you just use the refresh database command or trait. So we shall just say use refresh database trait. So let us take it here inside our test. Let me see above here. So we shall say use refresh database. And for now, let us try to run the test again and see what happens. And as you are seeing, for now, the test passes. So usually that may arise that you try to run a test and the test fails. So in such a scenario, you can migrate or refresh the database while you are running your test. So as you are seeing, Git is tracking. Let us first try to commit to Git. So we shall say Git add. We're adding all the files. Then we say, let us see here. We are having 5 untracked. So we modify the mail controller, and as you are seeing, we modified the test controller. So you should be committing. So let me just say git commit -m, and my commit I will say modified mail controller by adding index method and modified the mail test controller by adding a new test. So we commit. So let me clear the terminal. And as you are seeing now, our project tree is clean. So now, as you are seeing, We implemented the test to get all the meals, and after that, when we tried to run the test complained that we must implement the index method. And inside the index method, after implementing the index method, we got a certain error when our test was saying the meal table was not existing. And for that case, I told you, you just need to use refresh database trait. It is already imported inside your test, so just apply it here. This means that every time you run a test, it first refreshes the database to a fresh new DB. So it is as if it is migrating the database to a fresh database. And as you are seeing, we had some data inside our table, and the data is still existing. So this is a good reason why you should separate the database you are using to run your tests from your actual database. Because if you come back to the PHP unit, we are using the in-memory database. But if we were using our actual database, this one, every time you run a test, the data you're having inside the database will get erased, because we are using the refresh database trait. So every time you run a test, it means if you had 100 records inside your database, they will be all erased and the database will become empty. Also, all the users will be deleted from the database, so which is not a good practice. So it is better you always separate the database you are using to run your tests from the actual database within your project. So after seeing that we are having our test passing and we have implemented the index method inside our mail controller, let us go in Postman and we try to get all the mails from the database. So I'm going to just change here to the get method, and to get all the mails, I just run, and as you are seeing, we have been able to get all the mails. So we are having an array. This is a collection, and as you are seeing, our first mail is having ID 12, our second mail is having ID 13, our third mail is having ID 14, and it is also returning all the fields from the database plus the actual path of the image, meaning that when we need the image for the mail as a front-end developer, it will be easier for you to just retrieve the image out of this JSON data. So being able to retrieve the mail, let us go ahead and implement a method or a test to get a single mail. So this is a test to get a single mail. So let us put it inside our test file, and remember, for you to define it as a test, you need to put this block here. So this code will mean that the following is a test, and this test is admin can get a single mail, as you are seeing, and we are running it without exception handling and without a middleware. So for this, we have said we have defined a new variable which we have called maximum ID, and it is equal to the mail model facade maximum then ID. What do we mean with this code? So we are saying you get the maximum ID value from the mail table and store it inside here. And for the endpoint, as you are seeing, for the endpoint, we are passing the ID we get. So it will get any maximum ID from the database and run that. But before that, let me first comment this out, and I go with this one. Let me first check to see I am having a meal with ID 12, 13, and 14. So let me just pass that here. So let me get this and I run my test. So for the test, we shall need the name of this test. So let me just run this. Let me just change here and I put the name of our new test and try to run it. And as you are seeing, this time it is complaining that the meal model does not exist. Let us analyze it well. Admin meal not found inside our test controller. So as you are seeing here, we are using the meal model. But here up, we are not having the meal model, meaning that we must go ahead and implement. We must go ahead and implement the meal model. So we just need to import or to add a namespace for that, and this is the namespace. Use app models meal, or you can just right click on that and say import the namespace. So let me go just above here and I put the namespace. As you are seeing down here, we were using the meal model minus adding its namespace up here. That's why the test complained. So do not forget to do that. So let us try to run the test again. And this time also the test failed to pass. Let us see the reason. It is complaining because remember, as you are seeing in our test, we are trying to get a single meal out of the existing meals. And as you are seeing, it is complaining the show method does not exist. So you must go ahead and implement the show method inside your meal controller. And I have already prepared that code for you. Just get this block here and come to the meal controller just below the index method. Let us put the show method. So let us see what this code tells us. So we are defining a public function which we call the show, and we are passing in the ID of the meal, and we are saying let us define a new meal which is equal to, we are getting into the meals model and we are finding or filtering a meal with the ID we are passing inside the show function. So if we pass in, as you are seeing in our test, we are passing in 12, a meal with ID 12, meaning that it will come pass the ID 12 here and it will find a meal with the ID 12 and it will return all the details of that meal into an array. If the ID you pass here does not exist, the meal here the code must return a message, meal not found. So having implemented the show method, let us go ahead and run the test again to see whether this time the test passes. And the test is 100% passing. So after our test passing, let us try to go into the Postman app. And as you are seeing, let me just pass the ID 12 here. And perfect, you are seeing now we are returning a single meal with ID 12. If I pass in ID 14, you are seeing we are returning a meal with ID 14. So we have been able to implement a method, the index method to get all the meals from the meal table, and the show method to get a single meal from the meals table plus their tests. So you first create a test, run a test. The test fails, you work upon the test to pass. As soon as the test passes, it means your controller is okay. But for instance, let us just come here inside the meal controller. This is a show method. Let me just change its name to show1, meaning that we are not having a show method. And I try to run the test again. Automatically it must complain because there is no show method, as you are seeing. Meaning that after your test passing, it means that your controller is okay and you are good to go. So that is TDD. You first define the test, work upon the test, run the test fails, implement or whatever the test needs for the test to pass. Once the test passes, then you are good to go. And as you are seeing here, all our tests are passing. All our tests are passing. So that is a test. What if we just need to run the two tests, or not two tests, but all the tests inside a single test file? For instance, here, if you come inside this test file, we are having two tests. This test, which is admin, can get all meals, and admin can get a single meal. So for this, if I just run the test file itself minus filtering the test, let us see. And as you are seeing, here we are having 3 tests, all of them they are passing. Meaning that all the tests were implemented. But as you see, in our test we are having only 2 tests. Okay, no, there are 3 tests. This one, admin can create a meal, admin can get all meals, and admin can create a single meal. So as you are seeing, if we run all the tests at the same time, all the tests are passing. Now we are remaining with 2 things on the meal controller. In the next tutorial, we shall be implementing a test whereby the administrator can update an existing meal, the administrator can delete an existing meal, and we shall implement the update and the delete methods inside the meal controller. So after doing that, we shall mark the meal management as done, and we shall go inside Atlassian. We visit our Jira board and we update that on the Jira board. And the next task will be to work on the menu. Remember, the admin will be adding the meals on the menu, the available meals of the day on the menu. And those meals will be obtained from the meals table, as we shall see. And we shall set validity for the meals of the day in such a way that if the admin places the meals on the menu for today, those meals will reach certain hours that the menu must be expired or invalid, and the admin by tomorrow must go ahead and add new meals on the menu for that day. So the meals the admin defined for yesterday, if a user comes today, the user won't be able to find those meals on the menu. So the user only must be able to get the meals which are for the current day. And those meals must be not yet expired. So we shall be setting those conditions as we shall be seeing. Thanks for watching. Let us meet in the next tutorial, but do not forget to click on the subscribe button.